Okay, so in this demonstration, I will show you guys how to model a simple toy train using just primitives. We are not going to go into editing mode for Blender here. This is a purely beginner tutorial for people to get familiar with the user interface of Blender. Okay, let me just turn on my shortcut display first. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is that we want to create a toy train, and from this cube, right, we're just going to transform it into a oblong shape. So I'm going to use the shortcut command first to bring this cube, right, so that it is not being cut by this grid here you see. All right, so I'm going to bring it up by one Blender unit. So press GZ1 to bring it up one Blender unit. So now you can see the bottom is lined up with the floor. And also I want to increase the size so that it is not a cube, but it is lengthwise along the y-axis by maybe 2 times. So press SY2. So I scale it up by 2 times. Okay, so now we have the train body done. The next thing we want to do is we want to create the train nose. The train nose is created from a cone. So we want to create a cone. You can go under Add, Mesh, Cone. So now we have the cone created, or you can use the menu system, Shift A, Mesh and Cone, same thing. So now we have the cone also halfway below the cube over here. So I want to bring the cone up so that it is within this cube. So just press GZ1, and now the cone is within. Okay, let me undo that. I think I pressed the middle mouse too soon. Right mouse click to get it back. GZ1, and then left mouse click to finish the operation. Now the cone is inside the former cube. So if you want to see the cone inside, there are a couple of ways. We can activate X-ray view by clicking on this button here. So now we can see the cone a little bit clearer. We want to rotate the cone this axis, this direction, so that it's pointing this way. So we know that we need to rotate along the x-axis, okay, not along the y-axis. So we want to rotate it this way. So press RX, then 90. So now it's pointing this way. So you can see that now the cone is perfectly lined up inside. Now if you still can't see the cone properly, we can turn off X-ray and use the wireframe display instead. Alright, this first sphere over here will show the wireframe. Now I want to show you the shortcut key. Press Z. Holding down to Z, you can choose between rendered solid or wireframe display. Alright, so you can switch between solid or wireframe. So with wireframe, now it's a little bit easier to see. And if you look at the bottom of your cone, you can count how many units you can move the cone forward along the y-axis. Now, if you take a look at the orientation of Blender, right, the positive number is going this way, and the positive number for x is going this way, plus, plus. So if you want to go negative x direction is going this way. So this direction for y is definitely the negative direction. So we need to move the cone negative 3 units in y-axis. So select the cone, press G, then lock it into y, then minus 3. And now we have the cone positioned perfectly in front of the cube or the train body. Alright, now we can create the train carriage or the passenger compartment, which is the back over here. Now we can create a brand new cube, or we can just duplicate the existing cube over here to make the train compartment. So to duplicate, you guys already know, is Shift and D. With the cube selected, press Shift D. And then when you press Shift D and you move your cursor, it will start to follow where your cursor is moving. So we want to lock it in the Z axis. Okay, we know that the cube is 2 units high, so we can press Z and then we can press 2. So now we move it exactly 2 units up. Now we want to scale the cube down by 2 units along the y-axis. So press SY minus 2. Okay, minus 2 doesn't seem to work. Let me try one more time. SY minus 2. Yeah, it doesn't work, so I will have to manually scale it down, or I can use the properties over here, the mesh properties here, change it back to 1, so it's back into the original cube. But the original cube is too big for me. I want to scale it down slightly. I want to bring it down to maybe 0.5 0.8 along all values. Now if you want to scale all values uniformly, just hover your cursor over the numbers, left mouse click and drag down until they all turn black, then type 0.8 and press enter. So now I got a slightly smaller cube, and this one looks better for my passenger compartment. So press GY and then push it back slightly. This one you just have to eyeball it. You can switch over to your right view, okay, then GZ, then bring it down until it touches the bottom here. Alright, now I can switch over to shaded mode, press Z, go to solid view, and inspect my handiwork. Okay, I'm happy with this. Now I will select this miniature cube, and I want to create a roof, a simple roof for it. So I'll press Shift D again, and then press G followed by Z to move it up about halfway, and then I will scale it down along the Z axis. So press S, Z, scale it down like that. Okay, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. You can see there's a bit of overlapping here. So press G, Z, then just move your cursor until they no longer touch. Okay, now I want to show you a type of scaling called non-uniform scale. Non-uniform scale. Couple of ways that you can do it. You can use shortcut keys, or you can use the transform tools. So I'll show you the transform tool first. You can activate scale, and then if you look closely here, you can limit the scale to just the Y and the X axis by grabbing on this blue cube over here. So click on it, and then now I scale it non-uniformly until I get it to have a roof sticking out like that. Alright, so that is one way of doing it. So let me undo that. So I'm going to use the shortcut key method. If I want to scale and lock it within the X and Y axis, I'm only left with the Z axis, right? So you need to know this keyboard combination. So if I want to scale only along the X and along the Y, so what letter is left behind? Z. So if you want to scale non-uniformly, you just press S first. If you press S, it will scale in all directions. But if you press Ctrl and Z, Shift and Z. Shift and Z, it will only limit, Shift and Z and release, and it will only limit to just the X and Y axis. So that is non-uniform scaling for you. Okay, now I have my roof. Now, creating the wheels. One thing I did not tell you guys about the cursor key is that the cursor, right, can be projected onto a surface of a mesh object. So if you want to use the cursor tool here, you can, but there's a shortcut to do that. If I want to project the cursor here, you just need to hold on to Shift and right mouse click, and you notice now the cursor is sticking on the side of this wall here. Now, one thing about Blender is that when you create a new mesh object, right, it is going to appear at where the cursor is going to be. That means right now, if I were to create a cylinder to act as the wheel for the train, okay, it's going to appear here. So let's create a cylinder. Shift A, mesh, and then create a cylinder. Obviously, the cylinder is in the wrong orientation, so I'm going to scale it down along the Z axis. So press S, Z, scale it down. And I want to rotate it along the Y axis, so it's rotated down 90 degrees. So press R, Y, 90. Okay, so we rotated this 90 degrees. Now we can see that the wheel, right, is being overlapped, so we need to move it out. Okay, so again, earlier on, your gizmos, right, you can actually turn on the move gizmo so that we don't always have to come here to grab the move tool, so that I can move this thing out manually by pulling out the arrowhead. So now we need to duplicate another set of wheels over to this side. So just press Shift D to duplicate, and then press Y so that it's locked in the Y axis. Then we will push the wheel forward. Now we got two sets of wheels, or rather we have two wheels. Now select both of them. You can drag a box until the edge touches them so that both of them are selected. Okay, so actually I do not want to select this lamp or light. So I will select and Shift select the other one. So make sure you don't accidentally select the lamp, otherwise you'll duplicate it. So we're going to duplicate it so to move it to the other side. So for this, I'm going to use either my front view or my back view for reference. So I'm going to go to front view, then press Shift D to duplicate, press X to lock it in the X axis, and then move your cursor to the other side. Left mouse click to finish the operation. Press Shift C to reset the cursor position. Shift C will also reset your scene view so that everything is visible. And then basically your train is done. But if you want your train, right, to move and then the rest of the objects follow, we need to do what thing? Parenting. So parenting is very simple. Unlike Maya, right, you just need to press P. You need to press another additional key, which is Alt P. So let me show you the basic parenting first. So if I want to parent the cone to this main body here, you select the cone and shift select the body. Actually, it's Control P, not Alt P. Alt P is to clear the parent. Control P, and then parent to object. So now, when I select the main body and move, you can see that the cone is following. Now, if I want to do this quickly, right, you can select multiple objects, like shift select the wheels, holding down the shift, select all of it. The last selected object, right, shift select the last object, which is the main body here, and then you press Control and P, it will become the parent. So now, I select the main cone, and then now my train is done. Now my train looks very boring, right? The colors looks, yeah, it's just the gray, miserable gray. So I will quickly introduce you to the materials. So if you go over here, there's a material tab. Click on it. Right now, there's only one material that is originally from the cube. There is a drop-down panel here that shows you all the materials that are in the scene here. Currently, there's only one material. All right. So all the objects, right, can have material or no materials. The original cube itself has a material, but the roof and this compartment also has a material. That is because they were duplicated from the original object. However, the cylinder and the cone doesn't have a material. We have to click on new to create new materials for them. So since the original cube, right, has the same material, if I were to change it to a different color, all right, right now it's supposed to be red. Okay, but how come I'm not seeing it red? Because we are in the wrong shading mode. We need to be in the material shading mode. So press Z, go to material preview, and now you can see the body and then the compartment and the roof has turned red. And if you look carefully at the material editor, you can see a number 3 over here next to material, the original material. That means 3 objects currently are using the same material. So let's say if I want the material to be unique, okay, you have to click on the number. All right, so far now the roof is selected. So if I want the roof to be a green color, you click on the color swatch here, choose green. So now the roof is green color. Let's go over to the passenger compartment. But the passenger compartment says that 2 other objects are using the same material. So I want this material to be unique. I click on the number. Then now I can give it a different color like blue. Now for the wheels, they don't have a material. So I'm going to click on new. And you can rename the material by double clicking or just clicking on the name and then I say wheel. So I know that this is the wheel material. So for the wheel material, maybe I give it an orange color. And now, how do I apply the material to the rest? Now, you can select this wheel, go over to the material, and then click on the drop down here, and then choose wheel. Now this object also has the wheel material. So I'll go through one by one and apply the wheel material. And then finally for the nose, create a brand new material. Maybe I give it a purple or violet nose, and then also give it a name. Now, I did this demo very quickly. So normally, right, for good organization, it's a good idea to always name everything properly. So I'll just name a few first. For this one, it will be the rear left wheel. And then this one will be the front left wheel. Now, I don't want to go through the whole process, but normally in 3D graphics, right, it's a good idea to name all of these until they have proper names. Like this can be the train body, train nose, passenger compartment or driver compartment, and the train roof. The reason is because when you are dealing with 3D, right, it's best to organize everything and name everything accordingly. Otherwise, right, your entire scene will be filled with cubes and cylinders and spheres and you don't know what is what. All right, so please build up this habit of doing this. Finally, one last thing I want to show you, animation. I want to animate this train moving forward and backwards. Okay, now we have a timeline over here. We can turn on auto key by clicking on this button. Now, before we do that, I'm going to move my train back first. All right, click and move it to the back. Then I want to set a key. Now, how do you set a key? You can press I to set a key. When you press I to insert a key, right, you can see that there is a star that is added there. When you press I, right, automatically you will add a transform key or whatever keys, right, in this position. So I'm going to drag the timeline to 250 frames. Then I'm going to push the train over here. Now, I can press I again to set a key. And then your animation should be done. Now, we have done modeling, materials, and then animation. Okay, so I'll just show you the basics for now. So I want you guys, right, to do this as your exercise for today. Okay, it's actually 3 o'clock right now. Do you guys want to go for a break first before you do this? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording first.